In this video, I will be covering one of the many business models that you can use to escape the 9 to 5 and make a full-time living off of YouTube. Now, first of all, most people don't even realize that you can make a full-time living off of YouTube. Second off, they assume that there's like only one way. So the most common way that people, think that you do it is through AdSense, which is basically the ads that play before a video plays on YouTube. And that model usually requires you to build up consistently to a level where you are getting millions of views per video. Sometimes less, depending on what type of genre you're after and the ads that play. This business model is probably one of the better ones to do because it's a great general feel, and in terms of feeling out the area, feeling out YouTube and how it works. And also it is probably one of the foundational ways that you can branch off to other business models and have a head start and understanding of how the other ones work and knock those out of the park. So it's basically the consulting, coaching type model. Now, a lot of people think that if you're an expert at a field, you will immediately get attention and people will pay you a lot of money to consult or coach or whatever else. And this isn't always the case on the internet. If no one knows who you are, if you don't have anywhere to show people who you are, and if it doesn't seem like you're established authority, how are people going to find you and how are people going to trust you? So basically how this model works is there's a couple phases to it. And this is very important because it's so true. I'll give you one example. There's this very popular video game called League of Legends. It's a MOBA, which stands for Multiplayer Online Battle Arena, where you control a character and then you kill other people and then you try and destroy the other person's base. It's a great game, and millions upon millions of people play it. There's a professional esports scene for this, and the prize pots are in the millions. So it's a niche thing, but it's not niche at all. Millions upon millions of people play this, and there's a national ranking system that anyone can join and pair themselves for, and the top of the top of the top have a rank and tier that puts them in the smallest of percentile at the top. 0.1% of 0.1%, like the best of the best of the best. Now, despite this being such a small group, it's still fairly large and competitive because, again, there's millions of people who play. The point is that I've known a few people in this region, in this area, and yet, it's so competitive that becoming a professional gamer is like close to impossible. And on top of that, a lot of these people, they're not making money or a lot of money from their skill level. They just like playing the game. And there's a lot of reasons for that. A lot of them try and stream and pretty much play video games on stream. But again, the bulk of the profits go to the top streamers and the top professional gamers. So it's very tough to get in even with that level of skill. It requires a certain level of consistency and community with your stream viewers that takes time to build. Or you just get onto a professional team and then everyone's eyes are on you already. So the point of that is, I know a few people who are either they tried coaching and they're getting like close to nothing, or some of them are just doing it for free because they enjoy it and no one's willing to pay. So does this mean that like the market's not necessarily there? Not exactly. Well, there's a decent amount of YouTube gamers who are highly skilled, not as skilled as these people I just mentioned, but they've established themselves as an authority on YouTube. And because they have many videos and they consistently put them out over time and they've grown a following base, these people constantly get requests for coaching because they keep being found through YouTube, and some of them make a full-time living off coaching and do it fairly well. So it's just a lesson in the fact that authority is not the only thing. You do need a little level of business savvy or awareness and initiative. Back to the whole process. So phase one of the process is you pretty much start your YouTube channel and you start posting consistent content. And your goal for phase one is to get to a point where you get comments and people saying, I like these videos. Can you make more of these? Or can you make these types of videos? You have to get people who actually like your material enough and are requesting more. And this is a phase that it took even some of the most successful YouTubers a while to reach. PewDiePie and Roman Atwood, they're both pulling tens of millions of views per day. But, you know, when they first started, it was a bit of a slow grind, especially for Roman Atwood. He spent a year and a half doing comedic skits, and then like no one really bothered to comment. And he got some views, like tens of thousands, but no comments really requesting more. Then he did a prank, and everyone's like, stop with the stupid skits, do these pranks. And he got so many requests that he did more pranks, and lo and behold, it took off. For PewDiePie, he just played random games like Call of Duty and stuff like that. Then he played horror games, and everyone started requesting more. So there is a certain level of consistency as well as testing out new things. Now, I do think that there has to be a certain level of time to let things marinate and people to discover you and enough people to watch your videos and find you and react before you move on to try something new. Sometimes you need to put out like at least 5 videos on a certain topic to really gauge the waters and see if this is worth pursuing. And again, you know, there's a bit of compromise, and sometimes there's not any compromise in terms of, you know, deciding whether to move to a different topic, because what if you're not interested, or what if you don't have fun or enjoy the topic that people are requesting? My advice, if it's that far gone, don't do it. Like, if you're not going to enjoy it anyways, it defeats the purpose. But, you know, sometimes you will get the best of both worlds, where you enjoy it as well as, you know, it's something that people want. And then sometimes there's a tiny bit of compromise, but you're willing to do it because that's where the huge demand is. You know, the marketplace demand may be much different from what you want. And that's just a case of it. People are willing to only watch certain things. They're only interested in certain things, and they're only willing to pay for certain things and not for other things. That's just partially how the world works. Again, this is just my opinion. I may be completely wrong. So, then you try and hit the goal of phase two. Phase two is basically where you get to a point where you are starting to grow and you're getting a lot more views. And the goal of phase two is to get to a point where people are naturally trying to contact you and ask you, can I pay you for you to help me? Can you coach me? Or can you consult me? Can you give me advice? Whatever it is. And again, it could be anything, video game coaching, or, you know, business coaching, or painting coaching, or social media coaching, whatever it is. And so, you know, in other cases you might get speaking offers, but it really varies, and I think you should focus on the coaching and consulting first. So from there, you know, it should naturally happen. And this is, some people say this is the best way, because you get genuine demand naturally from people rather than you trying to force it down people's throats. And it's important to keep it, you know, general to a certain degree, and just let them know that you have available coaching. And this is important for a variety of reasons. If you're too specific on what you will coach, then you can shoot yourself in the foot, because what if they're looking for something else? You know, there's this classic story of this photography blogger. This is a real story. He grew this huge following, and then he tried to sell them on like advanced photography skills. He never listened to his audience, and when he did, he found out that they were all introductory beginner photographers, and he created these products but were selling it to the wrong crowd. And so then he started selling intro photography stuff, and it worked better. Now there's a lot more that you can do to really figure out what they want. There's a great book called Ask that may be of help in terms of properly surveying your audience in the right way. There's small stuff that you can do that may be better to do that, but sometimes it's just, you know, opening up, letting them decide, and listening. And there's a lot of entrepreneurs and small bloggers who, you know, things weren't working until they got the advice that I'm giving you for free right now, which is just to listen to your audience and figure out what they want, what are their pains and problems, rather than what you think they are. So as far as, you know, letting them know that you have consulting or coaching, you don't want to shove it down their throats, but again, you also don't want to do this too early. Like if you're just starting out and you're still in phase one, you're feeling out things, it's way too early to do that, because they're not even in the state to be ready to do that. They need to know, like, and trust you, and you have yet to find that video type that really propels you. The second thing is that again, if you don't tell them at all, once you hit phase two, then they might never know. And some of them will naturally, you know, trickle in, possibly, if you're good enough, and they'll on their own ask you. But sometimes they're interested, but they just don't know that you offer it. So some people, you know, mention it at the end of their videos. Others do other things, or, you know, subtly put it in. And there's, you know, small different ways of you to do that. And so that's the general phase of phase two. And then phase three is basically you're getting money, and as the demand increases, you have to have the negotiation skills, and you have to remove any hidden psychological barriers to ramp up the price. Some people are unwilling to do that, and sometimes they shoot themselves in the foot because they're getting so many offers, but they're charging so little, and they don't have enough time in the day to do all of it, and they're overstressed. So that's a bit of, you know, its own topic, but that's the general outlay of it. And that's basically how a lot of people do it. Like many YouTube channels, a lot of dating advice channels have models like this or similar models where they boot camp with students, or they go one-on-one. And some of them, you know, from the get-go, they just launch immediately with a video, and then on their second video, they start like linking to consulting submission pages or coaching pages. It works for some of these people because, you know, I guess their videos got enough traction and attention and demand for them to get enough contacts immediately. Other people, it may not work well, which is why I recommend phase one. Now, I think here are a few really important things. This is just one business model, and it may not be the best one for you in the long run, because, you know, perhaps you may not end up liking trading your time for dollars consistently. Others love it, and there's plenty of people who still do it. There's this man called Thriving Minimalist. I found out about him 6 months ago. That's really when his channel started, and he has made a full-time living teaching family therapeutic relationship type coaching, and it's all through YouTube. He pretty much consistently put up videos. He got enough traction. He set up a page, and it worked. It's not as easy for everyone, and yeah. So just for you guys to know, I don't have that set up yet. I'm kind of technically still in phase one, feeling things out, and I'm not necessarily sure it's the, you know, optimal role for me, the ideal dream job, or whatever you want to call it. But I do think even if it's not, it's a good way of feeling things out if this is the path you want to follow in the future. Because when you consult and coach for a while, you can understand all the ins and outs of certain areas of business, if that's where you want to continue on. So if you want to release products or services or software or ebooks in the future, or courses or whatever else, you can do this with a much better understanding of what your audience wants, and release better products, which will get you more sales. So that's the general outlay of things. And there's two big important points I want to stress. And I think these are very important as well. I think the first one is make sure that this is something that's, you know, generally speaking, it's something that you like, you have fun in, and you're interested in, because again, like it defeats the purpose if you don't are interested in a certain point. And you don't want to compromise too much in terms of like not doing something you like, right? So it just makes sense to do that. Um, the second thing is, again, is it's a model that um, what you're basically doing is you're marketing to people and kicking up a storm and letting people know that you're there and showing your authority and so forth. And let's say you think that you can't be an expert at this field, or you don't think that you are a top expert. And this is, I think, a bit of a huge fallacy, because as you've seen, even if you are a huge expert, you don't necessarily, it doesn't guarantee you instantly get people coming to you. Sometimes it does happen, other times it doesn't. More importantly though, if you don't necessarily have to be an expert. If you're a few steps ahead of other people, or you're interested enough in the topic that you know more than the average person, you have that ability to help others. And there's a great photography blog and the blogger behind it made a full-time living off of this concept, because he wasn't an expert, but he positions himself as a guy who was a few steps ahead of the complete beginner photographer. And it actually ended up working out, because he was at first very insecure that he wasn't a supreme expert, but the fact that he wasn't, and a certain level of relatability, allowed his audience to really connect with him and relate to him, and it positioned himself in a unique way that allowed people to better be related to him, and it worked wonders. So you don't necessarily have to be an expert, and that's something that I've struggled a bit with, because I've gotten comments like, who are you to make these videos? And I think no matter what you do, you will get a small percentage of people who are like this, no matter what. But I think I've learned from that perhaps you have to maybe make it clear at the very least who you are and how you position yourself, so people aren't confused as to why you're